Good morning there, pioneers. How are you today? Today is Thursday, June the 4th, and we are going to be pretty much almost closing out the Civil War. And I kind of feel bad here, guys, because with the time that we have left, we're not going to be able to uh, dive in with as much detail as I would have liked originally uh, with the topic of the Civil War. We did the life of a Civil War soldier. We have a special treat for you next week. But right now, I just want to take a look at some of the battles that the major battles of the Civil War. A little activity for you to do that you could turn in on Friday. Okay, so I want to start out with this quote by Lincoln. At what point shall America expect the approach of danger? By what means shall we fortify against it? Shall we expect some transatlantic military giant to step the ocean and crush us? Never. At what point, then, is the approach of danger to be expected? I answer, if it ever reach us, it must spring up amongst us. It cannot come from abroad. If destruction be our future, we ourselves must be its author and finisher. As a nation of free men, we must live through all times or die by suicide. So Lincoln is, in effect, predicting or referencing the start of the Civil War. A couple of things here, guys. First of all, before we get started, with the battles and what you need to do, just remember, Civil War by the numbers. The population of the United States was 31 million people. Currently, it is 325 million. 22 million of those lived in the North, only 9 million in the South, and 4 million of those were slaves. 3 million Americans would fight in the Civil War. That's 10% of the population. Astronomical. 620,000 Americans would die. That is 2.5% of the population. In 2020, the equivalent would be about 8 million people. 360,000 Union soldiers and 260,000 Confederate soldiers, roughly speaking, would die during the Civil War. Two-thirds of those would die from disease. As bloody and as high casualties as the Civil War battles had, 2 out of every 3 would die of disease. And the war lasts 4 years, 1861 to 1865. I want to show you a couple of things I find fascinating. One of the most fascinating stories in American history. This is the house of Wilmer McLean. This house here is where pretty much the Civil War, many historians consider to really be over at this point, when General Robert E. Lee surrendered to Union General Ulysses S. Grant. The home, it belongs to Wilmer McLean. Wilmer McLean was a farmer who, during the first battle of Bull Run, the first ground battle of the Civil War, a cannonball went through his living room. He picks his family up and moves to Appomattox Courthouse. 4 years, 10,000 battles later, skirmishes, whatever you'd want to call these the fighting. There's a knock on his door, and they ask if they could borrow his living room so General Lee can surrender to General Grant. Here is General Lee on the left, General Grant on the right, and here's a portrait of that particular surrender. So that literally, you could say that Wilmer McLean's living room saw the beginning and the end of the Civil War. Well, we can't cover all 10,000 battles, but let's take a look at what we can do. We are going to take a look at 10 major battles. And to do that, guys, you're going to watch this video here from Civil War Trust. It's an excellent video. It's going to take you through the war. It's going to give you details on some of the major battles and an animated map type thing. So I think you'll really enjoy it. Also, if need be, I also have the textbook here, module 18. You could look in there. I have the pages listed in the directions that you may want to reference, that you could find some of these battles in. First Bull Run, Shiloh, Antietam, Fredericksburg, Gettysburg, Vicksburg, to name but a few. Some of the major battles, 10, and you're just going to identify them. And this will pretty much be your last grade for the year, guys. We have a special treat, a Civil War reenactor for you next week, and more details on that to follow. Okay, you'll complete it here with a battle scavenger hunt, and these are what you're going to see here, guys. If I click on it, you're actually going to see that there are going to be descriptions of a battle. For instance, the word translates into place of peace. The battle was fought on April 6th and 7th, 1862. Both armies suffered high casualties. And then you're going to have to identify that battle from either the textbook reading or from watching the video. Okay. I'm also going to add, guys, some work. It's optional for you to look at in case you're interested, of past student work detailing some of these battles. Okay. It's really interesting stuff, and I hope you enjoy. Any questions? I'll see you at the Google Meet tomorrow.